So I'm going to be making 2 cuts on this tatami mat. I'm going to be doing standing straight and standing cross without the shield. So what I just did is a Japanese process called tameshigiri. It means cutting tatami mats for testing of swords. And as you can see, the rolled up tatami mat that's been soaked in water for 5 hours is very thick and it's pretty robust. It's about the density of a human arm, roughly. So the Japanese used tameshigiri in the past to test the effectiveness of samurai swords. So the reason I'm not showing step cuts on the tatami mats is because I don't think it would be any more demonstrative of the Kopis's cutting power than the standing cuts. The stepping cuts are more powerful, but I was able to cut through this standing, so cutting through it marginally faster with the step cut I don't think is that illustrative of the Kopis's power. Now I'm going to be making 2 cuts on the tatami while holding the shield. I'm going to make the straight cut and the cross cut, both standing. Now if you noticed, what happened with the straight cut is that in order to cut through, I had to actually displace the shield. Otherwise, I would have stopped here and had just been stuck inside and not made the full cut. But standing here, I had absolutely no problem at all cutting right through it. So what I'm going to do with this new tatami mat is I'm going to do a series of standing cross cuts going down the length of the tatami with the same amount of force, roughly, to demonstrate how it gets harder to cut as I get closer to the dowel. And at the end, I'm going to make a very hard cut into the dowel to show how deeply the Kopis can bite into what is a rough simulacrum of a human arm bone up here, a humerus bone. So if you can see, up here is very easy. I barely had to do anything to cut through the tatami mat. But as I came down closer to the dowel, I was only able to cut about halfway through. Now I'm going to go very hard right here against the dowel to show you what happens when I try to do that. So if you heard, I bit very deep into the dowel. And we'll take it out to see just how deep. This one is the cut that I just made, and it effectively shattered what would be a human bone. This is a bit thicker than a human humerus bone, so if I bit this deep into a wooden dowel like this, the effects on a human humerus would be pretty grisly. So I have in my hand here the remnants of a spear shaft that I made. It was a 9-foot long stave of ash, and in a previous testing I did do some test cuts on it, and there's a deep neck here that I tried, and it didn't split any of the grain, but it was able to cut pretty deep. But more interestingly was this. So this used to be much longer, but what I did when I hit it was I actually splintered the shaft along the grain, and that was able to splinter it not because of the cut, but because of the force of the blow. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a couple swings at the undamaged end that's going to be sticking out over this, just to see what's going to happen. So as you see, what I didn't do was I didn't cut cleanly through. What I was able to do was I was able to cut, bite deep, and then shatter the spear shaft along the grain. Let's try another one to see what happens. What continues to happen is that I splinter the ash. I don't cut the ash. So this was the second round of testing. Actually, today was our second outing, and what has been consistent pretty much the entire day is that it's been easier to cut than the last time. I don't know what happened. I guess I've been swinging harder, but for whatever reason, it's been much easier to cut not only the tatami mats, but also this ash spear.